So I'm sure you've heard of Plex and Emby and Jellyfin now, and there are tons of articles about installing all of these platforms and the processing power needed to transcode your media. But what if I said that most likely, depending on your situation, you didn't need to do any of that? That you didn't need a robust computer as the brains of the operation, and you don't need to be stuck to a particular platform and use only their software. It's 2022, and end devices, like your phone, your tablet, a Fire Stick, are more than capable of playing lots of different media. My LG G6 from 2017 is capable of playing 4K content, and for only $30, when it's usually on sale, you can get a Fire Stick 4K, and it's a powerhouse. So the real question becomes, do we really need to transcode anything? And do we really need to have a complicated setup to organize our media? I don't think so. And here's my super simple solution. We're going to stream everything from a web server. It's a regular old HTTP web server. And that's basically it. Most media players are capable of playing streaming content. However, I'm sure you want to organize your content in a meaningful way, right? With poster images and all that cool stuff. Well, Kodi can do that. Yeah. Yes, good old Kodi. And it's still being updated to this day. And Kodi supports a lot of different protocols. So HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, Samba, network file share, etc., etc. And you can add it as a source, and it'll organize your media for you. And personally, I prefer HTTP if you're on a local network, or HTTPS if you're outside of your network, like if you have a VPS across the internet. And you only need a basic single board computer like a Raspberry Pi. And in this example, I'm going to use an Orange Pi Zero LTS, which is extremely, weak, but it's capable because it has Ethernet and it has 512 megabytes RAM, which is plenty to just serve files. So way back when I bought this Orange Pi Zero, it was only $16. It costs more now, but, because of the pandemic and all that. But I wouldn't recommend getting Orange Pi Zero now. I would recommend you get something else or use an old computer. You can use whatever you want. You can even use an Android box, TV box, and install a web server on that too. Do whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable doing. But my point is that all we have to do is serve files from a regular web server over to Kodi. That's it. So I'm going to explain that, and I'm going to go over it because my personal setup, I have a VPS, and I stream everything from it, and it's awesome. And I want to share the awesomeness with you. And it was not complicated to set up. It's super easy to set up. That's why I made this video, because I feel like everybody's pushing for Jellyfin or Emby or still to this day Plex for whatever reason, even though I don't think Plex is free. And it doesn't make any sense to me. This is way easier. This is simple. It's free. So you decide if it's worth your time or not. It's worth my time because I use it every day. And like I said, it's awesome. So here we go. So I'm recording now, and I'm going to log into the Armbian instance on my Orange Pi Zero. And I've already set up a user, which is going to ask you, to set up a new password, which I did. I didn't make a new user, but I did change the root password. So the first thing we have to do, as always, is do an update. And I'm going to do an upgrade as well, which is not really necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway. I do have the Orange Pi Zero LTS connected over Ethernet, which is the best way to connect any of your servers on your network. Ethernet would be the best. Latency will be super low. And I'll show you later why that's important if you're scrubbing through video. So it's finishing up the update process. It's going to tell me in a second what is there to upgrade. And I'm just going to say yes. Yes. And enter. It's going to go through, do its thing. Like I said, it's not really super important that you upgrade. But you do need to update to just at least get the latest servers, see what packages are available. And again, you can do this with any device, any computer. You can actually do this from an Android device if you want to. Obviously, you wouldn't do Linux commands, but there are packages out there that will serve a web server from Android or even Windows. Okay, so it finally finished. It does all its little upgrades. And so now we're going to install nginx. And we're just going to say yes. It's going to install more packages. Okay, so it's done. It wasn't that long. So what I do is I always stop the nginx service first. Most people would use systemctl. I use service. It works fine for me. So I just put service nginx stop. Okay, so the service is stopped. That means we can edit the files, which are in etc. So we'll go to etc, go nginx, and we'll see what the directory looks like. We should be going to sites available. And then we have our default. So we're going to nano into that, and we're going to edit this file. It's up to you what you want to do here. I'm going to change this to something else, the root directory here, because that's where our files are. If you're not familiar with nginx or any type of web server, there's usually a root directory where your index file, your HTML file, or your PHP file for your website is. In our case, I'm going to mount it to a specific folder. I'm going to call it thumb. I'm just going to call it thumb for thumb drive. Okay, and then in the location, I want to do something super important. I'm going to put auto index on semicolon. And the reason I put auto index on is so when a folder gets served from nginx, it's going to automatically create an index and show all the files in that folder. Kodi is going to need that index to serve you your video files. So that's it. We're going to exit out. I'm going to save it. I'm going to save to the buffer, save over it. And let's go to mounting our flash drive. In this case, I have all my, well, I should say one video on a flash drive. And I'm going to quickly see where it is. It's on SDA1. So what I'm going to do is mount it to thumb. Let's see. Okay, I just realized what I did wrong. I need to back out and make this folder. So let's back out all the way to the beginning. So now we're at the root. So we're going to make a directory and we're going to call it thumb. Then we're going to mount our thumb drive to this folder. So now when I go into thumb, it should show our video. So I have an old Kung Fu movie here and it shows as mounted, which is great. Now this will only mount the drive for this one session, meaning until it restarts. You would need to have it automatically mount every time, but that's not for this video to do. If you really want to know how to do that, I'll comment it down below. But basically, this is only good for this, just to show you what to do. So we have our folder mounted. and we have nginx off. So let's go ahead and start nginx up again. And there we go. And I'm going to switch to the browser. So I've switched to the browser, and I've gone to the IP address of our server, which is an Orange Pi in this case, but it could be anything that you set up on, even a VPS across the internet. And nginx is showing me this directory. And it shows the index because we put auto index on. And we're going to go to the movie folder. Inside there's a movie, and if I click it, because it's H.264, I can stream it in the browser. And we can watch it directly in the browser. But we're going to take it a step further. We're going to take it a step further, and we're going to serve this video file, or this folder, actually, to Kodi. And therefore, it should inspire you to, add more videos to the folder, or multiple folders. You can have multiple folders, movies, TV shows, whatever you want. So let's go over to Kodi and set that up. So now we're in Kodi, and yours should look kind of like this. I have a few items removed here that I don't need, but that's okay. It should look more or less, yours should look more or less like mine. So I'm going to go to settings, and go to media, and go videos. I'm going to add videos. I'm going to browse, and I'm going to add a network location. So what's interesting about Kodi is it supports a ton of different protocols, even Samba, which is the standard window share. But we're going to go up, and they say HTTPS, which is awesome for VPSs. You should never, ever share files over the internet over regular HTTP. You should always be SSL secured. But in this case, we're just going to do a regular server for our internal network. So I know my little Orange Pi 0 has an IP address of 192.168.143. Put that in there. There's no remote path. It's the default path. And no username or password. You should have a username and password if you feel you need it to be more secure, especially if you have a VPS across the internet. Port 80 is the normal web server port. Just press OK. And there was no error, which means it worked. So if I click on the server, and there it is. There's our movie folder. So now we just press OK. And I'm going to name it. I'm going to name it Kung Fu. You can name it whatever you want. You can name it movies, TV shows, however you wish. I'm going to press OK. It's going to ask me what's in the directory. I'm going to tell it it's a movie, and I'm going to tell it I'm going to tell it the movies are in separate folders, meaning like normally when you download movies, especially on BitTorrent, it separates them into folders. So if I clicking that, it'll let Kodi know that each folder should have a movie in it. And I'm just going to press OK. And you want to refresh? Yes. And it's going to start scanning the folder, and I already did it. So if we go back, let's go back and back and back, and there it is. There's the movie. And to show you how awesome it is, we can go to information. I'll just give you all this cool information: trailer, star ratings. You can change the artwork on the movie poster if you wanted to. And let's go back and let's just play the movie. And I'm going to skip around. And you see how quick that is? I can just skip around super quick since it's on our network. So that's it. So yeah, that's that's basically it. So as you add movies, you can update the folder, and there's an option here to automatically update on startup. See, update library and startup, and it can scan a folder for you. And if you're just starting out, I highly recommend you do something like this, especially if you have like a single board computer just laying around. I mean, let's be honest. I think a lot of us have older computers or Raspberry Pis or whatever, just not doing anything. This will even work on a Raspberry Pi Zero if you have it connected to a hub or something. That's it. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and like, share, subscribe if you think it was useful. Comment if you think you can make it better. If you really want to know how to set up a VPS across the internet, let me know. I'll do it. And that's it.